technically episode 2, but we're gonna roll with it and act like it's episode 1.
Let's run it.
Just so y'all know, we are very excited right now because we've been doing some troubleshooting for a while, and it's been a struggle.
Yeah.
We spent some time really trying to get this stuff up and running.
We made
So
Coles
this feeling
runs.
right now, this feeling right now is just unbelievable.
It's immaculate. It's immaculate. We done bought things. We done returned things. We done pulled the hair out of our heads.
The Amazon trips have been wild.
Oh,
We straight drove to Kohl's the other day for something we ordered that day and returned it that day.
Yeah.
We went overnight with it.
Yeah, no,
it did
for
work.
Real. No, yeah, and I mean, this man taught me how to return things to Amazon. I never knew how to return anything to Amazon. So if it was like if the purchase just didn't hit, I was like, oh well, I got it.
Yeah. No, the Kohl's returning process is really a breeze.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where that partnership came from. I don't know why they decided to do that, but it's amazing.
Is that the only place you can do it at?
No, you could do it at like UPS stores. You could do it at Amazon drop boxes, like those drop points at like the Whole Foods and stuff like that. But some of them cost money. Some of them you gotta repackage like your package and your product, and then give it to them, and then they'll take care of it. Or they gotta like you gotta print out a code or like all this different type of stuff. Kohl's, it's like, come in, we'll do everything for you as long as you try to buy something.
Yeah, bro. You with that 15% coupon. They said you gonna take this Kohl's cash. Like at that point, but I've been living under a rock. Jeez. But
No,
yeah,
one time I did a return and it was like $5 off of 10 or more, and I just got like a graphic tee, and I walked out of there with a brand new T-shirt, $5. I was like,
I'll take that over some 15% off. 15% off? You just gonna cut the tax off? Okay, cool.
we was just talking about
We
this.
was talking about that, yeah.
Bro, 50% off is the fakest discount you could ever give. It's so cheap if you're a company now, dude.
Yeah, and for clarity, it's like we're talking 15, like 1.5. Like that is an insult. Like
It's so bad. Especially in California too, because the tax is literally like 10 something, or like 9 to 10.
Depending on where you're at, it's damn near 11. Like it's damn near 11%.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
It's ridiculous.
And 15%, like we were talking, sometimes it covers shipping. So like, we were talking, some websites are hella slick. Like they'll be like, oh, free shipping, like $35 plus. And you're like, oh, bet, like, okay, I'm going to get free shipping. I'll add $35. You get there, you got to check out, and then it's like handling charge. Like they didn't say shipping and handling. You're like, y'all are slick, man. Like,
I like how we just start coming out the gate talking about like taxing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's two things, right?
Right.
Death and taxes. We always go talk about that.
Just know that it was a long road to get here, but we're here.
It was, and eventually Scanny's going to join us. We'll have the trio going, and we'll get this thing up and running. But right now, it's a glorious night. It's a little chilly, but it's a glorious night. So let's get into it. We were talking about the NFL running back situation because that's the latest problem with the NFL.
Yeah, man. It's so for those that may not know, there were 3 notable names in the running back market that were set to get extensions. Not necessarily break the bank, but they were due to get their payday. And those 3 running backs were Saquon Barkley, the most prominent name in the market, Josh Jacobs, and Tony Pollard. Now, if you're listening to this, I would hope that you know what team they play for. But if you don't, Saquon Barkley plays for the New York Giants, Josh Jacobs for the Las Vegas Raiders, and Tony Pollard for the Dallas Cowboys. They were all set for a franchise tag. Their organizations wanted to tag them and guarantee them $10.9 million.
It's something like that. I think it's 10.9 or 10.1, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere in that range of just about $10 million. And with that, if they sign that franchise tag, it guarantees them that $10 million, but they essentially got to play their ass off this season to get an extension if they play on that tag. But all these running backs, with the exclusion of Tony Pollard, felt that they were worth more than the $10 million and really wanted long-term deals. Unfortunately, 2 of those running backs were not, well, actually all 3 of them were not able to reach long-term deals, but Tony Pollard signed his franchise tag. So he is contractually obligated to play football this year and show up to camp and do the whole 9.
The tricky thing is that the teams that they're with, they didn't really want to cooperate with the deal.
No.
That's the thing, because the way that the CBA is drawn up right now is the running backs are totally devalued right now. Like every other position has like a franchise tag that's more than respectable for an average yearly salary. And for the workload that the running backs put in, they're getting absolutely robbed right now.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of this period where you talk about Saquon, you talk about Josh Jacobs and Pollard even Dalvin Cook, right, who's been released and now is looking for similar type of contracts.
Yeah.
These guys are basically like the poster boys for that change that they're trying to stand for to get running backs more respect, get running backs more lucrative contracts that align with the workload that they get in a season. I mean, running backs, a workhorse 3-down running back gets somewhere between 20 to 30 touches a game. And if you're a dual threat, it's even more. I mean, think about McCaffrey and other people, even Pollard, right? I mean, they touch the ball so much and they have so much contact throughout a whole year. And the fact that they're only going to get 10.1 is ridiculous. You compare that to other sports, other contracts, other positions. I mean, dude, I think Looney is making like $8.5 million, and that's a steal. I mean, Looney's true value is probably like 12 to 15 million in another sport. So I'm just saying, like, you talk about a running back who like can carry an offense, right? I mean, granted, it's very heavily dependent on an offensive line, play calling, schemes, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the running backs, they got to do the work too, and they have a lot resting on their shoulders, and they carry offenses sometimes. Saquon, Josh Jacobs, they carried both of their offenses last year. The Giants don't even make the playoffs if they don't have Saquon.
Oh, no, most definitely. The only reason we talked about the New York Giants within the last 4 or 5 seasons is because of Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
That's it. From the day he was drafted until today. Like, he's been the only reason we have ever talked about the Giants. Maybe Brian Daboll. That would probably be the second most popular name.
That's been the latest change, though. I mean, before Daboll and before Daniel Jones, who had a decent year last year, Saquon was the only talking point on the Giants.
Yes.
Now you combine the two, and now they got some sort of, success together and stuff like that. But before that, I mean, like you said, Saquon is the reason that the Giants were even spoken about on a national stage. And the fact that they're being disrespected this heavily, I mean, I haven't seen what they're commanding, but I would assume it's probably in that 15 million range is probably what they're looking for.
I think
They're probably looking for a 50% increase on what the franchise tag is.
Yeah. So, like, I think, Saquon, I think his range would be, like, because if you compare it, Christian McCaffrey's making about 16 per year. And it's also, one thing that I also learned today is that it's situation to situation. So, like, for example, all of these players are drafted in different places. And when you're drafted in different places, money changes, like, very drastically. A first-round pick can make almost $2 million, no, not even, significantly more than, like, someone that was drafted in the second or third round.
Oh, yeah, for
sure. For example, like, I think I heard Nick Chubb got his extension, but he was due for an extension because he was drafted in the second round without a fifth-year option. So with his productivity, not to mention he had Kareem Hunt beside him to really help his productivity, that's when he was due for his money. Yeah. But that's because he was a second-round draft pick without a fifth-year option. So when you're a first-round draft pick running back, the team technically has 5 years to see what you're about. Yeah. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah. And to Saquon's detriment, three of those 2 years have been riddled with injuries. And I could be wrong on that. Don't fact check me.
No, but like, he has been riddled with injuries. Yeah. But then when he's healthy, I mean, he literally carries the Giants on his back. If they don't have Saquon, they don't even make the playoffs last year. They're not in the wild card game. They don't even have a chance to beat the Vikings, which, by the way, we're going to talk about this later, but have you been watching that Quarterbacks documentary on Netflix?
Not. I've been meaning to get on that.
You got to watch that.
But you got to watch that. Well, yeah, we'll get into that, but the personalities they have on there is very interesting because they get it from one spectrum of the best quarterback in the game to someone that's struggling to even have a starting job. And so and then you see the middle
right.
man.
Yeah, exactly. So, like that slightly above average mid type of thing with Cousins. Which, by the way, man, I've watched the whole series now, and you will come out of that show a Kirk Cousins fan.
Yeah.
Literally. He is so likable. He's just a normal dude that happens to be a really good quarterback. And you just watch the show, man. You guys take in all the episodes because he really is just a family man, and he's just a franchise quarterback. Like, that just happens to be his occupation, so it's crazy. But getting back to the running back situation, because you look at the Raiders, they've disrespected Jacobs 2 years in a row. They should have picked up that option. Let's be real. Yeah. Last year, he absolutely carried the Raiders. He was literally one of the only reasons. Him and Devontae are the only two reasons why that team was not, like, 2 and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were like single-handedly responsible for winning them half of their games.
And 2 seasons ago, he was doing pretty well, even when they didn't have Devontae.
Again, him and I think Barkley's had more injuries, but Jacobs has been injury prone as well. But like the last few years, they've been playing really well. I mean, Saquon had a top 5 campaign last year, and I think Jacobs was top 3, at least fantasy wise. But I think the stats translated over into regular football stats as well. But I mean, we're talking about easily 2 of the top 5 in the game from last year, and they're struggling to make 13, 14 million because they got to sign a 10.1 franchise tag. It's just so disrespectful. But again, going back, they're kind of the poster boys for the change, right? Now you're starting to see people stick up for them. Like you had Derrick Henry on Twitter today talking about advocating for them as well, and all these other people that are coming out like running back it's not some throwaway position. You know, it's something that offenses weigh heavily on.
It's the most I would make the argument that it is the second most physical skill position in all of the NFL. And the first most physical skill position is linebacker. And the linebackers are making a point to tackle the running back. So if you have the most physical position coming after the second most physical position, it's like, where is, like, you're putting your body on the line, like day in and day out, week after week, going against these 250-pound people, like these 250-pound men that are coming to take your head off. And it's like, I can't even be compensated because, like, for the simple fact that I'm putting my body through this every day, like every other day,
and
every other week.
The thing about it is that it seems like a league-wide type of view and approach, almost like the teams have coordinated, the owners, like the front office have been like, let's collectively, like through the CBA, they almost plan like the running backs were kind of making this transition to more of a committee. So, like, let's collectively not pay any of them.
Yeah, you know, like a little,
which is like strange to me, though. I mean, but that just shows like there can be corruption on like a lot of deeper levels in sports. But
I mean, this isn't the first time the NFL is blackballed.
You telling me nobody wants to pay Saquon? I mean, why? There's not a team out there that wants to pay him 13, 14, 15 million a year. I mean, how much do they pay quarterbacks, dude? And I know quarterback is the most important position in football, but I mean, they get close to 30, 40 million a year. I mean, what did Carr just sign his contract for?
Bro,
it was like 3, 4, 120 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like Carr's mid, man. I mean, he's just above mid, but like he's not going to win you a Super Bowl right now. Like he's just not that quarterback.
I actually saw an absurd graphic today. It was talking about the average salary for a running back in the NFL compared to a kicker. Now the average income for a running back was anywhere from like maybe 800,000 to like I wouldn't even say that high. I think it was like anywhere from like maybe 600,000 to like maybe like just under $1 million. The average salary for an NFL kicker is $2.2 million.
Yeah.
That's just someone that is hired to kick the ball. There's only 32 of them.
I think we'll start again. I think in maybe 2 to 3 years we'll kind of start to see, because I don't know when this CBA runs out, but we'll start to see a reset, because I think the noise is starting to pick up now, and I think they're going to start to make change. What's that?
They just signed a new collective bargaining agreement.
When was that?
When they changed the amount of games, when they made it from 16 to 17.
So what? We're only 1 or 2 years into this.
We're only about like I think 1 year.
1 year,
because we've only had one season where there's 17 games.
Right. And how long I don't know how long the CBAs are, but my point is that at the end of this one, I think there's going to be some sort of change that happens where you're going to start to see that pay scale be different. And I was just listening to something on the radio today, and they were talking about how people and kids who are playing football in high school and in college right now, they're like, this viewpoint of the running back, how long does it sign for?
It's through.
Don't tell me it's a decade long.
It's through 2030, dog. We got a solid 7 years until.
And I don't know if something like that is you're able to hold out and like the whole league do a whole holdout type of session because you signed it. I don't think that you can do that.
No, you can't, because you're now contractually obligated, because all the players are in a union. So it's like, and that's the thing. This is another conversation for another day. That's the thing with unions. It's like, it's so hard to make movement and make change. And once that change is in place, it's set, because it's so hard to make change or movement because everyone has to agree. Or majority or a significant majority have to agree. And that's why when they signed the CBA a couple years ago, they were like, people were disgruntled for adding the extra game, taking away preseason, and it's just, I know people were disgruntled with the recent CBA.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just one of those things where I think it got to a point where the owners weren't budging, and the players wanted to play. So they're like, just sign it because I'm not trying to hold out. Start a whole. Now we're missing half of a season, a part of a season type of thing.
And they got families to feed.
Well, and the thing is, like, yeah, the players at the end of the day, they hold some leverage, but the owners have more leverage because the owners can go a whole season without being paid. They're that rich.
Yeah.
Like, they can do that. And the stadiums that they play in, they can host concert venues. They can hold so many other events besides a football game to create revenue. And the football players are like, we need those 18 games. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They need that to support their family and still build that future and that generational wealth. And it gets to the point where you can stand on that hill, right? You can stand on that hill like, nah, we want more. That franchise tag is unreasonable. It's unfair. At the end of the day, though, you need that money. You need that money.
And, like, they'll be like, all right, we'll just go draft someone in the 3rd round next year.
Well, you talking about the owners?
And the
front
owners.
office,
Like, they'll just be like, all right, we're just going to. But
it's a cycle now.
Yeah.
It literally is. It's like draft a running back in 3rd round, play his whole rookie contract out. If he's really good, pick up the option. And if he's really good after that, franchise tag him. You got to hold 6 years of a running back at that point for a price that's really reasonable.
Yeah.
Especially because running backs don't get drafted highly.
That's literally a tweet. I just pulled this tweet up because Jonathan Taylor quoted this tweet today because he's one of the running backs that's going to be due for a payday soon. Him, Najee Harris, there's going to be someone else too, like that's like a prominent name running back.
Yeah.
And like literally someone, Matt Miller on Twitter, the @ is NFL Draft Scouts, and the tweet says, been saying it for years. Step 1, draft a running back. Step 2, play the running back. And if he's good, number 3, franchise tag the running back one time. One time is in all caps. And then back to square one, draft a running back. Yeah. And like that's the cold hard truth. And then Jonathan Taylor came and quoted it and said, 1, if you're good enough, they'll find you. Number 2, if you work hard enough, you'll succeed. And then if you succeed, number 3, you boost the organization, which is what all of these running backs has done. Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Dalvin even. And then, doesn't matter. You're a running back. On to the next. And that's exactly what the tweet was. And that's the cold, hard truth. Like, it's a
vicious cycle, man. And it's sad to see just because from an entertainment standpoint, running backs bring so much value to the viewing experience as a fan.
That's your 1st round draft pick in fantasy every year.
Yeah, it's running back or wide receiver. That's literally always this. It's depending on your 2 skill positions.
Depending on your draft position, most definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, because if you have any of the first 3, or I would say any of the first 5 overall, you're going to pick a running back.
Yeah.
You're going to pick a running back.
I would say at least top 3. At least top 3.
Yeah.
At least, because
and that's in redraft leagues for clarity.
Yeah, redraft leagues. Yeah, casual leagues. You know,
we'll get into that later because that's what this podcast is about.
Those casual leagues. Yeah, that's when you would do that.
It's child's play.
But I mean, top 3. I mean, what if you're going to do it right now? I mean, it's McCaffrey's in there.
Derrick
Henry's likely in there, and then
I would say number 3 would probably be Saquon or Chubb.
Yeah, I mean they have a bid. I would say Justin Jefferson's really high. He's the one exception who would be really high up there.
Yep.
So, but I would say the majority of the top 3, top 5 is going to be running backs. I think that's safe to say that because you're probably going to have 1 or 2 wide receivers that might sneak in depending on preference. But yeah, running back dependent for sure in that top 5 type of range for fantasy.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have to stay glued to that and see because I mean if there's only a handful of options. There's only a handful of options that's going to happen. I mean, Saquon and Josh Jacobs could both sit out this season, and we have a replay of Le'Veon Bell back in 2016, 17?
Yeah.
And we all know how that turned out. Yeah. Where is Le'Veon now?
Did you see the thing on Instagram today? I think Bleacher Report, BR Gridiron, I think, posted it. But he did like a podcast or some sort of interview.
And Le'Veon did?
Le'Veon, and he basically said, I apologize to Steeler Nation. I shouldn't have done that in 2019 or whatever year it was that he held out. And it's like, but again, it was like he was almost in that cycle where he was like too early. Like nobody else was in his boat at that time.
Yeah. At that point in time, he was demanding money too early.
Yeah.
He was demanding
But it's
money
like
too early.
somebody always gets caught, and this could be used in anything, any sort of social problem or social issue that comes up. There's always somebody that is in that situation prematurely, and they don't get their justice basically. Like they get done wrong. They get the short end of the stick. And Le'Veon was the one that got the short end of the stick, and he decided to take that stand and say, "This is what I'm valued at." Got the short end of the stick, and his career's over now. I mean, he's out the league, and now he's paid the price, right? But again, if he was lined up with Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Pollard, Dalvin Cook, he'd be part of that brigade that's trying to make this change to get paid more. But again, at that point, everybody else is getting paid already, or already has a contract, and he was the only one just out there in the middle of the ocean, like, I'm an elite running back. I need to be paid more, and the whole NFL was like, okay,
That's cool. All right,
like,
bro.
like we hear you, but like you go play or not?
And I think like that's one thing too. It's just the fact of like, it's like just because you can get into a different situation and get what you're worth doesn't necessarily mean that's the best situation for what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah,
you know, like he got his payday. I mean, technically, he still missed out on what, like, I don't even know what the franchise tag was back then for him. It was pretty significant because if you include game checks, I think, I think it was like anywhere from
significant.
It was a significant amount. So he's already losing money by sitting out technically. And then he got the big payday, but then like that contract with the Jets, that's crazy. He was on the Jets.
And his career fell off though. I mean, he went to the Jets first of all, and that was when the Jets were absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was for a long time they were just really bad. And he went there kind of when like Adam Gase started, and it was like remember the Adam Gase Jets era? Oh my!
That was god awful. They drafted Sam Darnold. You thought they were gonna do something.
Remember he had that media availability, and he was sitting there, and his eyes were like, and it looked like he was doing drugs or something. Adam Gase. Remember when he had that?
I would not.
They were talking to him, and he was just like. And everybody's like, dude, is he okay?
Yeah, like I never understood when they said that he's like a quarterback guru. Like,
yeah,
like who did he groom like in the past?
Yeah,
like,
I'm not familiar with his history, but he proved that he wasn't.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
I know that's right.
So other news that broke today.
Yep,
D-Hop to the Tennessee Titans in today's strange developments.
I mean, it is strange. It is strange because whenever you get a new player in a new uniform in a new situation, it is strange to get used to it. Some of them are match made in heaven. Like, you know, like at that point in time when Devontae Adams went to the Raiders, that was a match made in heaven. Oh my gosh, he's going to his college quarterback. Raiders are going to be doing well. And same thing with like, I wouldn't even say the same thing. I would say when like Stephon Diggs went to the Bills, like, oh my gosh, they're going to be on fire now. But it's just like with D-Hop, don't get me wrong. D-Hop is a boy. He is a dog. He deserved every dollar he got.
Yeah.
But to see him in a Titans uniform, I'll get used to it. But like the Titans, that does open up their offense, but like their quarterback position is like, well, it's their offense is, I would say, is better with him on it.
Well, for sure, I would agree with that. But again, what you were gonna touch on, you got Ryan Tannehill under center.
And their quarterback situation is so up in the air. And what D-Hop needs is to be in a situation with a consistent quarterback that he can focus on and work with.
Which is why this move shocks me so much, because again, he's and almost to his own choosing, his own freedom of choice, to go to a mid quarterback again. And he's made a career off of catching passes from terrible quarterbacks, which is cool. It's very respectful. It shows how skilled he is and how great he is. But if you have a choice to be able to go somewhere and win and be given a quarterback that's got an elite accuracy, somebody that's going to get you the ball, you can rely on more, and you're not going to have to put your body in harm's way just to go up and get a jump ball that should be an interception, but you're making a play on the ball. Why would he go to the Titans? Like, it has to be purely salary driven. I don't know what the contract is. Was it like 2 years, $20 million, something like that? I don't know if you could pull that up, but
yeah, let me see.
It just shocked me that he decided to go to the Titans, which, first of all, I must have been out the loop because I don't even remember the Titans being mentioned. I remember the Patriots being mentioned. And then I'm just thinking to myself, like, did the Chiefs not make the call? Like, did the Bills not make the call?
I'm sure
Did the Bengals not make the call?
So
like, none of these teams, he was not open to trying to go to somewhere where there's a quarterback that's going to finally get him his justice when it comes to being able to get some accuracy and some stats.
Yeah. I think, well, so for further context, his new deal is 2-year, $26 million.
Okay.
So, like, that's...
Does it say how much is guaranteed?
Guaranteed. Well, with incentives included, it's up to $32 million. I'm not sure how much is guaranteed. I would probably think anywhere around, like, 18 to 20 maybe is guaranteed.
A good portion of it.
But basically, the top 5 teams that were in contention for him that would be good situations for him was Kansas City, obviously, if you're trying to win now. The Bills, if you're trying to win now. I know the Patriots were in talks with them, talks with him, and then also the Titans. I can't remember the 5th team, but if you're going, I think for him, the move was definitely salary driven because he's trying to get his money. But also, if you go to these teams like the Chiefs or the Bills, like they have stacked rosters, so it would have to be a significant pay cut. Like I'm talking, if he went to the Chiefs, he'd probably have to sign a 1-year, like maybe 9 to 10 mil. Like, and that's just he's getting the vet minimum at that point. Like it would strictly have to be a 1-year, like the last dance type of thing. Like we're gonna make this year the most of what it is. But for where he's at right now, what he's trying to make happen with the money, it would have to be a significant pay cut if he was to go to one of those powerhouses of the Chiefs or the Bills. Yeah. And like the Titans were the one team, I would say probably 1 or 2 teams that had the most cap space to give him what he was looking for. So like. It's interesting because it's like you want to win, but you also want to get what you feel you're worth, and I don't want to think about what the Chiefs would be like if they had DeAndre Hopkins.
You don't want to, but again,
my God.
Yeah. Oh, it would be disgusting.
And if the Bills got DeAndre Hopkins,
same thing. Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, Eagles. I mean,
and if they still don't get over the hump, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with the Bills. I'm sorry. If like after all this time, if you got D-Hop and you can't get over the hump, yeah, they got.
But again,
decisions.
Going back to what I'm saying is like we don't know his financial situation, of course. So there's probably a reason why he went after the money, right? Like I'm sure he's made a lot of money in his career, but like maybe he wanted to get that bag again. But from a pure football standpoint, it just makes no sense to me why you would rather choose Ryan Tannehill and the Titans over someone like Mahomes, who could arguably go down as the greatest quarterback of all time. You could say you had the privilege to catch footballs from him, catch passes from one of the greatest of all time, and he's in his prime, fresh off a Super Bowl. He's won 2 already. He's shown that he could be completely the difference maker no matter what, the X factor. That Super Bowl that just happened, Mahomes won that Super Bowl. Like, the Eagles were the better team from top to bottom. They had so much contributions from everyone. And Mahomes basically just grabbed that game and just won it, man. Like, he literally he willed his team to victory, man, because he's that good. He is that much of a transcendent talent that he literally won that football game. And to pass up on the chance to do that, I don't know what they were offering, right? And I don't know if we ever will know. But to pass up on that opportunity to play with one of the greatest ever in a career where you're already filled with horrendous passers, that just blows my mind. It blows my mind that he would choose to do that and forego that opportunity.
Yeah, this points like this, in free agency and things like that. Like, this is where you really get to see like what people's motivations are. Yeah, like you really get to see what people's motivations are, and you can make the comparison to the NBA. You got people getting paid out, getting ridiculous amounts of money. And when you see that they take that opportunity and be in that situation, you see what their motivation is. Like, for prime examples, Bradley Beal. Everyone's saying it's about time he gets out of Washington. He signs that fat deal to get an extension, the max contract for 4 years. I forgot the number, but it was absurd. Same thing with Dame. A couple years ago, he signed like $200 and something million. Like, he's getting paid at least $50 million a year.
And by the way,
there's no state tax in Portland. I said, oh my God. In Oregon, okay. Yeah. There's no state tax in Oregon. he's getting every dollar of that deal.
Yeah. Well, and that's the latest pandemic of the NBA as well, though, is these players taking advantage of the CBA. Talk about a sport where the players have literally flipped the leverage on the owners. The NBA is full of people that are ring chasing and bag chasing at the same time, which is crazy to me that they've somehow found kind of like this loophole in a way they found this loophole where they, even if they don't want to stay on this team, that's where they can get the most money, right? So they sign this max. They sign the super max with the team, like Dame did, like Bradley Beal did. And then 1 or 2 years goes by and they go, oh, you know what? I'm done finally. Yeah. Give me a trade. And now the thing with the new approach is that they go, okay, I may not have it, because you're familiar with a no trade clause, right? They can tell teams basically what team they want to go to. Even if they don't have that, they're basically doing this de facto trade clause that like Dame's doing, where he's like, you can trade me anywhere, but I'm telling those teams I'm not re-signing with them. No matter what. If you trade for me, I'm not going to re-sign with you. I'm telling you straight up. And so now nobody wants to trade for him. It's basically become a de facto no trade clause, because now Miami knows this is the only place he wants to go. Portland's like bluffing, doing all these leaks to the media like, oh, we're exploring here, we're exploring there. And Dame's like, trade me there. They don't want me for a rental. They want my good word that I'm going to re-sign and that I actually want to be there. These teams are not going to give up 3 first-round picks and one of their best players to get Dame for what, a 2-3 year rental, and then he's not going to leave, and he's not going to be invested in the team. You already know from the rip that he's not committed to the team's success, right? And all this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They literally have taken the leverage based on these contract situations. They're like, we're going to do what we want. I mean, at this point, you could be viewed however you want. The PR is going to be the PR. But Dame is like gone from, and he's established this kind of reputation of a loyal person, right? I mean, he's been there almost, a decade basically in Portland, and they haven't done anything for him. I mean, granted, he was playing in the league during the Warriors era, which in the Western Conference basically...
He was one of the first-round bounce outs. And the Rockets.
He was always getting the short end of the stick, and most teams in the Western Conference did during the Warriors era, man. That's just how it was. That was the power dynamics. They were just that much better than everyone in the Western Conference. But you look at Dame, and he's been loyal all this time. He's gone through the ups, gone through the downs of the roster construction, the rebuilding, all this. Dude, it's time for him to leave, but now he's doing it to the point where people are like, oh, this is bad. Like, this is a bad look, right? Because he's going, I want to go to Miami. Trade me in Miami. And Miami's like, okay, here's the best offer we have for you. And Portland's like, we don't want that. And they're like, okay, go tell me what's better.
Right. Like, what else are you going to get?
Find me another package that's better, that you're going to want to take, and that they're going to want to offer.
Right. Because no one's going to sell their whole, their immediate future for a rental of
exactly.
Like you said.
It's just like the Ohtani situation. Like, Ohtani's going to leave the Angels likely in free agency this year. But right now, with the trade deadline coming, Angels are kind of listening to offers. Anybody want him? But it's going to be like, what, 2.5 month rental? Like, there's no guarantee that Ohtani's going to re-sign with you if you trade for him right now. So if you trade the whole farm system, you get rid of all your young players, you get rid of some stars, maybe some pitchers, some big hitters you have in your lineup. All of a sudden, you're giving that away for a 2.5 month rental of the best player in the game. But you have no guarantee he's going to re-sign with you. So it's very similar to kind of this Dame Lillard type of saga.
Yeah. And then the same thing with Ohtani. Like, he wants to be on a West Coast team. He's making it very clear so that the flight back to Japan, I would like to assume that's where he's from. The flight back to Japan would be like significantly shorter than if he was on the East Coast. Yeah. But there's only like maybe 4 or 5 MLB teams on the West Coast. Yeah. So
and I'm no Giants fan, but if y'all get Ohtani,
Ohtani, we got some fire pokey over here, bro. Come on, that was out of pocket. No, but like, no, if Ohtani gets to the Giants because of how bad they blundered on Judge, when like having him visit and everything, and to have him pump fake and go back to the Yankees. If we get Ohtani, y'all better watch out, because the Giants, they're on a little 5-game win streak right now. You feel me? But that's their Achilles heel is pitching. Like, it's outside of Duvall and maybe Webb. Webb has like he has good stretch
good too.
Yes, they've had good stretches, but if they get a solid, consistent like Ohtani can be in there for a significant amount of innings. Like
and just like we were talking about, he could be the greatest player in MLB history. Literally, the combination of power hitting, consistency, and then the elite pitching, to be a two-way player like that in that sport is literally unheard of. And at the rate he's going right now, he'll break records on records. He'll be the face of MLB. He's like
face of the Giants.
Ohtani mania is like a real thing, man. It's like it's a big deal. And for the Giants, it would be way more than just results on the field. It'd be a huge PR gain for the Giants.
Yeah.
Like those seats would be filled just because he's on the team. And you talk about adding, like it's like Kobe with the NBA. You know how you had like huge China presence. Everybody loved Kobe over there. It's the same thing over here. If the Giants were to get Ohtani, they'd have a huge influx of the Asia countries, dude, that are just de facto Giants fans now because Ohtani's there. You're gonna be filling seats, even on days he's not pitching. That's the crazy part because he might be just the DH. Hit 2 shots in a game, and you still get a power hitter out of your star pitcher. It's just unheard of, man.
Yeah, we're at, like if he gets onto the Giants, it's a deep playoff run. I would say it's like okay, maybe
they're
not.
Primed.
They're
the thing
gonna
with
get
baseball, it's really tricky.
Yeah,
really tricky.
And they just reformatted the scheduling too, so it's kind of like it's all types of weird.
Yeah, that's strange, but I also like that they're making it more spread out. You play everybody a little bit more.
I'm coming from a biased standpoint. For anyone that doesn't know, like I am employed by the Giants, so like kind of seeing that dynamic of like I'm having a brain fart. I don't even know where I was gonna go with that. But
seeing like the operations.
Yes, seeing like the operations and seeing like how like that one presence on the team can kind of change the whole dynamic of it too. Because it's like, well, like the Giants have not had any polarizing figures that people come out to see. Like the biggest household name is Brandon Crawford, and he's already in his 13th season. Like he's won. Like,
he's already been benched.
Yeah, he's on the kind of the back nine of his career. You know, like. He's a legend and everything, but the last polarizing figure was Buster Posey, and he's been out the game for a cool minute. So it's like
right now, Brandon Crawford's kind of giving me the Iguodala timeline, where it's like he's hanging on, he's still serviceable, and I'm not talking about Iguodala last year. I'm talking about like before the Celtics finals and like a couple years before that, where he's not starting, but he's still a big contributor. He's a big culture guy. The fans love him. It's somebody that people come out to go see. But he's just kind of on the back half of his career. He's slowing down. The numbers are kind of decreasing, but he still brings that leadership in the clubhouse. He still brings that culture to the team and to the fan base, and he contributes in many other ways, from coaching, being able to groom the young guys that are coming up that are going to take his place. Like you've had, like, who's the starting shortstop right now for the Giants? You got Tyro, you got Schmidt at third, you got Bailey taking over catching. So my point is that it's all these younger players that are coming in and filling in for the Giants now that he's able to kind of coach up and mentor while he's still being somewhat serviceable as a player. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a multiple Golden Glove winner. Yeah. This guy he was a stud, man. I mean, he's still a stud, but before it was just night and day.
Yeah.
So again, he's just kind of giving me that Iguodala role for the Giants right now, where he's not definitely the main draw anymore, but he's a big culture person where he's filling seats because of what he's done and what he still brings to the table. Maybe not so much on the field, but in the clubhouse and just the from a culture standpoint. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So
I like how we went from like we stretched over 3 sports just now.
We did. We did. And it's the beauty.
It is.
It's the beauty of it all.
I remember we started at D-Hop making 26 mil, then we're off to signing Ohtani in.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking about culture guys, might as well just dive right into the ultimate culture, which is Steph Curry. How about his performance at the American Century Championship?
Yo, if you want to talk about a dual athlete, like, I don't think we've seen as prominent of a dual athlete so successful since, like,
probably Bo Jackson. Deion Sanders,
Bo Jackson. Yeah. Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson, like, just how they were able to dominate 2 sports. Like, Steph Curry is immaculate in golf. Like, and this is one thing that I like. So for anyone that doesn't know, like, I don't know how you don't know, but for anyone that doesn't know, Steph Curry won the 2023 ACC championship. Right?
Yeah, it's the American Century Championship, and there's ex-athletes and celebrities that play in this tournament, essentially, and it's a 3-day event versus like a 4-day event on the PGA Tour. But it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it goes off of a point system, where a bogey is 0 points. Sorry, a par is 1 point, a birdie is 3 points, an eagle is 6 points, and a hole-in-one's 8 points, and a double, the one above hole-in-one, I can't remember what it is now, maybe an albatross or something like that, is 10 points. But across the 3 days, Steph scored 75 points. And it came down to the last putt on the third day on Sunday, and he was on the 18th, and he was neck and neck with, the final pairing was him, Marty Fish, and Joe Pavelski, which ex-Sharks, shout out Joe Pavelski, legend. But Steph had a putt, an eagle putt on the 18th to win the whole competition. Marty Fish was at 72 points, and Steph was at 69. And this was an eagle putt for 6 points in the win. And it was literally the last putt of the whole tournament. And he steps up and nails the eagle putt to win the championship. And he is the first active athlete to win that tournament since 2000.
All I gotta say is, this man, you do the damn thing. Wow. Okay. You just wow.
Right.
From the name of the tournament to just giving every statistic, I'm like, yo, that's why I'm sorry. That's why I was taken back.
No,
I'm like,
no.
yo, he does the damn thing.
Yeah.
He don't even golf.
Oh yeah, no, I do this.
He doesn't. Do you even own a pair of clubs?
I do own a pair of clubs.
Okay,
yeah.
let me
I
put
do
some
have
respect on
clubs.
it.
I don't go out and play. It is my plan to go out and play eventually, especially with Scanny.
Yes, indeed.
But no, I'm an avid
bro.
watcher though. I'll watch the tournaments on the PGA Tour and stuff like that, so I keep up with it. But once I heard that Steph, I mean, he broke the internet 3 days in a row. Let's keep it real. The first day, he hit a putt that the flag stick was over here, and he hit it basically the other way, and it curved all the way down. And then he looks away and walks off before it even goes in. So he breaks the internet the first day.
He has such
then
a
he
good
goes
feel for the green.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
His hand-eye coordination, I seen somebody tweeted, his hand-eye coordination should be studied.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes. We need one of those sports science episodes that we used to see on ESPN and SportsCenter. Remember that dude? He used to have like Calvin Johnson like diving and doing catches, and it would be like catch probability, like 2 point, whatever it was. But we need one of those on Steph.
Did they even drop his documentary yet?
No, it comes out the 21st.
21st.
Which we are recording, and I believe it's the 17th, so it comes out this Friday.
Ooh,
so it comes out this Friday. So you can bet I'll be staying up until I think it'll probably release at 9 p.m. here on the West Coast because it'll be 12 on the East.
I hope my Apple TV still works.
If you don't got it, I got you. Don't worry. The whole squad gets to watch Unanimous. They get to watch is it Unanimous? I think it's Underrated. I can't remember what it's called, but the Steph Curry documentary. All the homies gonna watch it.
It's called Underrated.
All the homies watching it. I'm damn near about to have a watch party. Honestly, we about to have every Steph Curry stan slide over to the chef's house. We're watching this.
I can't.
So, anyways,
dual athlete though, like it's
yeah, and I was gonna touch on that. Thank you for saying that, because what I was gonna say is it is probably the closest thing that we've seen to Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson. But let's pump the brakes and I'm the biggest Steph Curry stan there is. But let's pump the brakes because Deion and Bo actually played professionally in those other sports, and Steph was playing in a tournament that had really good type of like scratch golfers and people that do it as a side gig, or they've now picked it up post-career. So let's keep that in mind. He's not like he's out there playing against Rory McIlroy and all these other different types of people on the PGA Tour. But it is still a very hard tournament to win. And the fact that he is literally still an active athlete and has had maybe just a few months off of his NBA season to shore up his skills for this, and then he goes out and does that, it's impressive, man. And again, I think I believe that this is true, but I think he's the first African American to win the championship.
We love to see
century as well,
he's
just groundbreaking in many different ways. But you want to just talk about Steph, man. The dude he literally has so many things going his way, and he does so many things the right way. It's just hard to believe that he's like even real at sometimes, man. It really is. Like he's got a good family. He's got beautiful kids. He's an absolute franchise player in every sense. He does all the right things. He's so far away from drama. He handles criticism with grace. He just does so many things where you look at him and you're like, what does he do wrong?
Yeah.
And it's hard to hate him.
Yeah. I think it's so funny because he's like it's funny that I'm even making this reference, but he is like the living embodiment of that LeBron meme where he's in the pool and he's like, oh my God, it's really my life, dog. Like
Right.
that's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this is really this man's life.
Yeah.
Like he's just living life and winning championships and being an all-time great along the way. Like talk about a polarizing figure that has literally changed the game. Like the way people approach the game, he has changed it. And not within within a similar degree, but I won't stir the pot and say that it's identical to what LeBron has done for the game or like MJ. They've all changed the game respectively in their own way. But it's just the fact that the way that he's changed it, he changed the way the game is played. Like what teams strive for and how they construct their teams and how they approach it. Like teams like, dude, like when MJ was playing, like even the early 2000s, you was getting to the bucket. You was getting in the paint, hitting the mid-rangers, and if you was a good mid-range player, then you were one of the elites. You feel me? But like, it's just he's opened up the game so much to be beyond the 3-point line. Now you really gotta press him once he hits half court. People wouldn't press you until you get a couple feet away from the 3-point line, but now you gotta press him as soon as he passes half court. Even then, you may have to start guarding him a little sooner than that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the thing that I would say, and I agree with you with the whole Michael Jordan thing, and I'm not trying to throw any shade or hate on Jordan or LeBron, but you look at the way that the game has changed with Steph. LeBron and Michael Jordan were physical specimens and anomalies. It's what they could do is not replicable.
Yeah.
You can't just go out and then all of a sudden be as athletic or as game-changing physically like LeBron and Michael. Steph changed the game from a standpoint of a mechanic, a skill of finesse, long-range shooting to the point where it's changed the way teams literally approach the game. Look, again, no shade on LeBron or Michael, but nothing that they did prominently changed the point where everyone's game planning to play exactly like them. Because again, what they did is not replicable.
It was unprecedented.
But Steph changed literally like there's so many 3-point shooters on the floor now. You have to have minimum 3 on the floor at all times, or else you are literally fielding a disadvantage to your own team.
At the very least, 3 to 4 scorers.
Yes. But again, your point, you got to pick up Steph right past half court. I mean, people pick him up full court. It's ridiculous to see, dude. They in early in his career, you go back and look, and they would attack him every possession on defense to try to tire him out and he has the best cardio in the history of sports, by the way. But you just talk about the way he approaches the game and the preparation that goes into, like, there's so many hours that we don't see behind closed doors that he's putting in this type of work to make himself unstoppable just purely because he can outlast people. Like, he's got the skill and everything to match it, but it's the part that he can last longer than everyone else on the court. Like, cardiovascular, his levels are just in a different point than everyone else.
Right. And to your point too, like you said, like MJ, LeBron, they are physically gifted. Like that's the straight gene pool they come from, the genetics and what they've been blessed from birth. But I mean, much like Steph, yeah, like you can shoot a ball pretty well, but to shoot it as well as he does, that you gotta craft that. You gotta do it for years. Even from a standpoint, he is technically, from a physical standpoint and the tangibles, he is at a disadvantage. He is undersized. He's 6'2"? 6'1", 6'2"?
He's 6'3".
6'3"? Wait, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
But
he's
still.
6'3". He's considered short in the NBA.
Bro, he's 6'3", 185, dripping wet, dude.
It's when you see him standing next to other people, you're like, oh yeah, he's pretty short. But no, 6'3" is tall. But
in the NBA, it's not.
It's not. No, it's not.
And to be playing point guard and like the weight he is completely undersized.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And again, that goes back to my point. He's not a physical specimen. There's nothing about him besides his shooting and IQ and his physical fitness in terms of like how long he's able to be running around the whole damn court for. That is shocking. He's not the fastest. He's not the quickest. He's not going to jump the highest. He's not the strongest. Like literally nothing about him screams like physical outlier.
Yes, and he essentially focused and I don't know if elaborate is the right word, but he
He's just honed in.
He honed in on all of the aspects that he can control.
Yes.
You can't increase your height. You have no control of that. You can get bigger and buffer, but like you don't want to get too beefy to play in the NBA. So every aspect of his game, he took that chance to really focus and hone in on it and improve it.
Yeah.
And like those are his shining qualities now.
Right.
Like even one thing that, even though he like you said, like we said, he's smaller than everyone else, he still didn't let that stop him from improving his defense. His defense from when he first got, well, I would say, of course, anyone from when they first got drafted, but from that 2015 championship year to now, his defense has gotten significantly better.
He's such an underrated team defender is what I'll say. I think individually as a defender, he's gotten better, but he still has weaknesses. But him as a team defender, if you start looking at rotations, positioning off the ball, and rebounding at his size, he has improved like tenfold from that 2015 championship, like you said. And like I was mentioning earlier, people and teams would literally scheme every single time down the floor. We're going to put Steph in the pick and roll. We're going to make him switch, and we're going to go off of that. He has now become so good at working on that pick and roll, teams no longer target him. And that's the biggest compliment you could receive as somebody who's been targeted before, is that teams are like, we can't do that anymore. The percentages don't make sense to constantly go at him and try to get him in foul trouble, tire him out, all these different things, because first of all, he's become a better defender. He's learned the mechanics. He's watched tape. He's honed in on being able to refine that skill of not being a disadvantage on the defensive end, a la no shade, Jordan Poole, right?
Yeah.
Like Jordan Poole never really applied himself in the few years that we saw him to really commit to being a better defender, and that was his problem, is that he was such a one-sided player.
Yep.
And if he's off offensively and you're a liability on defense, it's a double whammy. I mean, now you're just hurting your team altogether. But again, Steph has gotten to the point where these teams are not schematically going at him, focusing on just trying to get him because it's going to be better percentages for them field goal wise, and that's the biggest compliment you could receive. So I would agree, he has been a ridiculously improved team defender throughout his whole career now. And again, going back to what you were saying about honing in on what he can control, it's from even extending his range being a big thing, of being able to shoot from 35 feet, to as little as honing in and really focusing on being able to have ankle mobility, building the strength in his tendons, really investing in his health and his the way he takes care of his body.
Yeah.
Like, I think LeBron really set the standard in this modern era for spending and investing on keeping your body at its tip-top shape and always being worked on, always having some sort of therapy and recovery.
Well, him and Tom Brady, too.
Brady as well, but I was talking specifically the NBA.
Basketball, yeah.
Because I think I read it's like $1 million plus that LeBron invests in on his body every year. And I think that kind of set this precedent, this standard, like, damn, if you do that, you could prolong your career 3-4 years. That's another contract extension. I mean, that's valuable time that you can get in the league additionally, just by investing in bringing in somebody that can take care of you. So again, Steph really focusing on strengthening those tendons and the muscles within his ankle region, which was such a problem for him early on in his career, has really prolonged the way he's been able to play a lot of games and play deep into a lot of seasons.
Yeah. Because I remember his ankles. He had his ankles issues. He would sit out multiple games. He had to switch different brands, and like, especially like with the design of his shoe. I'm not gonna lie. Look, the Currys are nice, but like the early renditions of the Currys, like that was like that point in Under Armour where they were really marketing like, oh, the ankle support that we have with our shoes, because they were doing that with the Currys, and they were also doing that with their football cleats, because I owned a pair in high school, and they looked dope, but like this ankle support was very flimsy. But even now, where he's wearing the Curry 5s or 6s now, they're low tops, and he can still rock those low tops. But with the brand of ankle supports or ankle braces that he has, like those things
are locked down. I remember back when he tweaked his ankle. The thing with he was talking about the way that those ankle braces work is that it supports the ankle so much that it, instead of your ankle tendons and all your muscles in that region being affected, it puts the pressure on like the other parts of your foot. So he ends up getting like bone bruises or like foot sprains in a way or something like that, where it doesn't affect the ankle when he turns it. It actually creates a different injury. Like
it's putting so much more pressure on every other part of your foot.
Yeah. So now when he twists his ankle, it's never really actually his ankle that's getting affected, so to say.
Yeah.
The main focus is the other parts surrounding it that he actually injures.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think that like those ankle braces are like that advanced, where you basically are immune to having like a severe ankle sprain unless like you really turn it bad. But that, again, it's just another thing that's revitalized and gave Steph this ability to prolong his career. And also, have you noticed, I don't know if you ever seen this, but now before when he was probably in that 2013 to 2016 like range, he was always falling and landing a certain way. If you watch him now, when he goes up for layups or when he shoots, he always lands, and he purposely falls. And some would say he's trying to sell contact, which he is partly, but he's also figured out that it's safer to land and fall the way he does because it takes less stress off the landing on his legs. Mm-hmm. So when you see him go up for a layup, he'll land, but he'll roll down with it instead of trying to stay on his feet and then keep going. He'll roll down because that'll protect his lower half.
Yeah, he'll
his
try to
ankles, his knees, his feet, and stuff like that from being able to land on someone's foot, land awkwardly, and then all of a sudden there's so much stress on that landing. So again, it's just so much science and so much investment that he's gone into, and then refining all these skills that are under his control, like you're saying, extending his range, being able to be an elite player off the ball, where that's what's made him great. Yeah. And what I think is the greatest point guard of all time.
Yeah, no, easily.
I mean, Magic is right there with him, man. And it's really tough to argue against Magic. But I think Steph just affects the games in so many more aspects. And I think that's where he gets the edge. And not only that, but his elite shooting to spread the floor. If you're going to build a starting five and you don't have Steph at your point guard, it's, for me, you're almost missing out.
You're tripping.
You're almost missing out on being able to be threatening in more ways than if you had Magic on the team.
Yeah, man.
So that's my opinion. That's my take on why Steph is greater, because I think he brings more threats on the court than Magic did.
Easily one of the greatest athletes of our time. Not only in basketball, but also in, well, okay, I'm not going to say he's one of the greatest in golf, but like he's a multifaceted individual, and big congrats to him on winning the ACC championship and, just, striving for greatness in every facet and everything that he does. It's unprecedented, and it's a blessing and a privilege to be able to witness this. Yeah. To just be able to witness it. Like if you're an old school like Chicago fan, if you lived in Chicago in the 90s, dog, that was I won't say everybody has different experiences, so I'm not gonna say like the highlight of your life, but bro, that is a elite
of a sports fan.
Sports fan, like that's that's still unprecedented in the fashion in which they did it. And it's funny because getting into basketball, like before The Last Dance came out, I knew the Bulls were good, but I didn't know the full story because I wasn't that invested in basketball like that until now. And seeing the whole thing of The Last Dance and seeing really what they did, dog. Yo, like that's a demon mode. It's like,
oh, that's an awesome documentary.
It's beautiful. It's an awesome documentary.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the only critique I have about it is just the fact that because there's so much to tell, them bouncing between years, the way they did it was kind of confusing for me.
Yeah. I see that. I remember because they jumped around a lot.
Yeah. Because they would draw comparisons from the 91 season to the 96 season, and then they'll do 92, 97, and then they'll do 93, 98 type of deal. I'm way off with my years too. Those were not the years that they won.
But they were jumping around is the point.
Yeah, the only episode that had like a real concise narrative was the Air Jordan episode, the one where they talked about the Jordan brand. And that's That's one of my favorite episodes, even though I don't like Nike. But regardless, that was still a fire episode.
Resident Nike hater.
Yeah, resident Nike hater. But I still buy their shoes.
I was about to say, as he scores 4 sneakers
to flip them and make some more money. You're doing great things for the sneaker economy, Nike. Just know that. You're not. You're making it worse for everyone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, just to close on that Steph part, yeah, because I couldn't have said it any better. It's just a privilege to be able to grow up during this time because, I mean, we're just watching a multi-generational talent, the greatest shooter ever, and arguably the greatest point guard ever, and probably at the end of his career, especially if he wins one more, which is not a foregone conclusion, but if he does get one more, and if we do win another one, it would be because he's the Finals MVP. If he wins another one and another Finals MVP, we're talking about probably somebody that cemented himself as a top 10 player all time.
Yeah.
And that's insane to me as a Warrior fan, like you said, to grow up in this era and then go from this Steph from 2009, where he's got these frail ankles and he signs a $44 million contract and we don't know if he's ever going to play, to being this franchise player and one of the greatest of all time is just insane.
Yeah.
Shout out to these mics. I don't know why my...
I'm over here playing with the...
I know. This guy's just...
I'm playing with the colors, dog. Like, this is crazy. I got a rainbow.
I got to fix mine because I don't know why mine's not going on.
Uh-oh.
But go ahead. Hey, touch on... Because the thing I was going to go to next was the Harden trying to force his way to the Clippers. He wants to reunite with Russell Westbrook. Why is that so strange to me?
I think it's an interesting situation. So for anyone that doesn't know, James Harden was offered. He had his. It's not what is the term for it in the NBA? He had his that $36.5 million thing that he could sign for. It's like a franchise tag in the NBA.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think it's
a franchise tag.
Something like that, or I don't know why I'm blanking. It's like a team option or a player option.
Yes, the player option.
Yeah,
yes,
player
there you
option,
go.
sorry.
So he was offered a $36.5 million player option to sign and pick up to essentially play for the Sixers, the Philadelphia 76ers, for one more year on the last year of his contract. This was the contract that he had predominantly had with the Brooklyn Nets before he got traded. Now, within that, Harden has made it clear he does not want to stay in Philadelphia. He does not want to play with Joel Embiid, and he had beef with Doc Rivers. I don't know what for and why, but he wants out of Philly. He hit the market, and he didn't sign the player option, and he was trying to find a deal. No one was signing for him, so he signed the deal. He signed the player option. But he signed the player option with only the intent of doing a sign and trade, basically telling the Sixers, if I sign this, you need to send me somewhere because I don't want to be here. But it's like, I want my money. So the Sixers were like, okay, but he is trying to pull a Dame Dollar. He's trying to pull a Damian Lillard right now and saying, this is where I want to go. Send me there. Yeah. I don't care what you have to do it. But Harden and Damian Lillard, I feel, are at two very different points in their career.
Yes.
Harden is not what he used to be. And for you to be throwing these demands of saying, oh, send me to the Clippers, I want to go to the Clippers, send me there.
Yeah.
With all of the drama, I wouldn't say he's with the amount of drama that he's had.
He brings some baggage.
Wanting to get out of Brooklyn, then going to the Sixers, then wanting to be out of Philadelphia. It's like, dude, if you want to be out of every situation you get into, what makes you think another team is going to want to take a chance on you? Yeah. And it's like, the Clippers, cool, but like, who's to say that they're going to keep Paul George? Who's to say that they're going to keep Kawhi Leonard? Because I heard there were whispers that they were trying to break that tandem apart because of their insufficiencies, and they haven't been able to get over the hump. So with Harden, dog. Like, it's just you want the Clippers, but you are not Damian Lillard to be throwing these demands to get where you want.
I totally agree. And the thing is that the Clippers are interested, which is why it makes sense. And I think eventually, in the end, they will find some sort of package that gets him there. And first of all, if they keep everyone together, Paul George, Kawhi, Harden, and Westbrook, to go with like Zubac and a couple other people, that's an intriguing team, man. I mean, if we're talking from an NBA standpoint, like going into the season and what they could do, they could really make some noise. I mean, I know there's a lot of ball dominant players on that team, but we're talking about PG and Kawhi, who are really two-way players that are really solid. I mean, Kawhi, when healthy, is elite still. PG's right on the cusp of that. And then you talk about Westbrook, who's now on a very cheap deal. I think it's like 2 years, $8 million, or 1 year, $8 million. The point is, he's no longer being paid max money.
Yeah.
So that's a deal for
Like
what he
minimum.
brings in terms of effort on the court. And then you get Harden as well. There's just a lot of threats going around there in Clippers. And
But
it's one of those
also-
things that could really look good on paper, but not work out like we think it's going to, or it could just gel, and then all of a sudden they take the league by storm.
Yeah.
I would side with the first one, but it's
Yeah.
very intriguing on paper just to think about that they could have those 4 players going into this at this point in their career. But going back to what you said, for Harden to be doing this kind of, I'm going to opt in, it's like a sign and trade essentially type of thing. And for him to be making those demands like, I want to go to the Clippers, and like, he's nowhere near Damian Lillard's level, though.
No, yeah.
And he hasn't been for a while. I mean, Harden he's not a shell of himself, but he's definitely lost a step or two compared to what he was in Houston. And Dame is still right there. I mean, I don't know if Dame's even lost
He
a
has
half
not
a step
declined. He has not.
at all. And so, again, the demands do not match up.
Yeah. And it's like, I forgot what I was going to say.
But yeah, I mean, it's just gotten to the point where it's like, Harden, how many teams you going to go to, and how many teams you going to fail at?
Yeah, dog. Like,
Don't even get me started on this whole super team construction that's happening, because the crazy thing is, no super team that's been constructed, if you want to umbrella term it as super team, no super team that's been constructed has won except for a super team that has Stephen Curry on it.
Indeed, sir. Thank you. There you go.
That's
But
crazy.
that was going to be the point I was going to make earlier. Like, that team, like you said, with the tandem of James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, PG, Westbrook, that's really good on paper. But that's also a lot of mouths to feed. Like, Harden needs he's a scorer. That is his most significant utilization, his biggest contribution.
And a passer. He's a really good passer as well.
Yes,
He's had to become a really good passer as well.
Yeah.
Because of his lower offensive outputs in the recent years. But
Yeah.
agree, he's still a scorer.
Yeah, and much like the Suns right now, especially after they signed Bol?
Yeah, Bull.
Yeah. So I was like, did I pronounce that wrong? You heard that awkward pause, like Bol?
Sounded like a Filipino dish. Sounded like some cuisine from the homeland.
Instantly thought of kare kare. If you know,
Right.
then you know. For those that don't know, I'm half Filipino too, so
Same here. We equal one Filipino.
indeed. But like, I'm really fob. Like, I know my
Yeah.
Filipino stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
like don't test me. Like, don't
Oh
test
yeah.
me.
You grew up in that.
I've eaten off banana leaves with my hands, dog, Kamayan style. Like, don't come for me. But I say all
Back
that
to
to
Bull.
say. But I say all that to say, yeah, like, a lot of these teams are looking good on paper, but it's a lot of mouths to feed. And like,
Yeah.
the Suns got a lot of hype right now. And if the Suns miss the playoffs, that's it. I mean, they're not going to miss the playoffs. Let me correct myself.
Yeah.
But if they don't,
Win the championship.
I'm talking Western Conference Finals, like,
Oh, that's
at
minimum.
the very least. Yes,
minimum.
that's minimum. That's minimum.
What's crazy to me is they're really making this shift because they've constructed the super team, and it's like they have no traditional point guard on their roster. That's what's crazy to me. They just traded Campaign, who was their backup point guard, and now their starting point guard is Bradley Beal. I don't even know if I've seen Bradley Beal in a role of having to be a playmaker and somebody who's a distributor. So this is going to be
facilitator.
crazy because you're going to have Beal, you're going to have Booker, you're going to have Durant, and you're like,
Beal
there's-
usually plays the two.
he's a
doesn't he?
shooting guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was always a shooting guard in Washington. And for me, I'm like, wow. I mean, that's 3, in a way, ball dominant scorers that are going to have to find a way to supplement each other. And then you work in the other people on the roster. But I mean, man. And I've been seeing stuff on Twitter. It's like the Suns going to have to score 160 points just to win. They ain't got
Dog,
no defense on their
defense at
roster.
all. But to your point too, like, that's kind of what the Boston Celtics have been. That's how they've been structured. They don't have like a true point guard Like,
Yeah.
they don't have a true point guard on their roster. Like, it's always Tatum or Jaylen Brown bringing the ball up and kind of just making it happen. Marcus Smart was probably like the closest that they've had to a point guard with the way that he's able to facilitate on the floor. But I mean, outside of that, yeah, there's no true point guard for these people. And a side note too, because I know we were talking about contracts and money. Yo, Jaylen Brown could possibly have like
that contract is disgusting.
He's gonna have a record. He's gonna break the bank. He's gonna reset the market. Because for those that don't know too, when you're due for a contract, there are certain like qualifications that you have to achieve as a player to be able to get your max money.
Yeah.
So like to qualify for like a super max. So to qualify for like a max, you have to be like second team. You have to be like second team all pro the
Supermax is all NBA honors.
Yes, like that's like, and that's only like a hand select maybe 5 people. Yep. You have to be all NBA super honors to get a super max contract, and that's super max.
You have to, and I believe that one of the caveats is that you have to be with the team that drafted you as well. That's what gives you the super max extension.
Is that what they did in the CBA now?
I don't know if that's factual, but I will say that for like the rookie maxes and stuff like that, like Jordan Poole got, it's because we drafted him that we're able to offer him more than the other teams.
Oh, wow!
And so I think that plays into Jalen's as well, on top of the fact that he was all NBA and met these other qualifications to be that. But we're talking, I think I seen, was it like 290 or close to 3?
It's short of 3. Yeah. If we're talking maybe 310.
That is disgusting. And there's no shade to Jaylen Brown because he's a great player. But that dude has his limitations, and we've seen him shrink on the biggest stages against the Warriors. Well, actually, you know what? He played really well against the Warriors, so I'm not going to shade him for that series. But he didn't show up in that Game 6. But against the Heat, non-existent. He turned the ball over a ton. His outside shot was abysmal, and Tatum had to carry basically. And you're talking about a guy that doesn't show up when it matters most, and you're going to pay him. He's going to get the most lucrative contract in NBA history, I believe, with that with that Supermax extension. That's just it's the Celtics are in a really hard place though, because it's like, do you not pay him? I mean, he's good enough to be that second or third best player on a team, but is he $300 million worth? But again, are you going to let him walk? Are you going to trade him? What is the return that you're going to get back for him? So it's one of those things where they're almost in the same spot as like the Warriors were with Jordan Poole, where they might as well do it because they can always offload the contract, right? With the new CBA starting, they can always offload him if they needed to get under that second umbrella. But they're in that same situation where he's just good enough to be slightly worth it, but he's not elite enough for him to be worth every single dollar and really produce rings and titles.
They're
that's
breaking,
crazy.
He's breaking the bank. It's a potential $304 million deal for Jaylen Brown.
Oh my God. It's just NBA money is on a completely different level than every other sport except for maybe baseball.
I mean, I was gonna say, yeah, if you really want to talk about levels to this, baseball, but then if you want to get into the disgusting range, you want to talk soccer? Oh no! And if you play internationally, like for a actual country team,
yeah. Well, and the thing with soccer, which I don't know if you're aware, but there's a huge shift going on right now, and it's the Saudi Arabia leagues. These Saudi Arabia leagues are basically poaching all these top talents. Like they have Ronaldo, of course, but a lot of other people that are leaving now and going to these Saudi Arabia clubs that are offering them ridiculous pay. I mean, I think Ronaldo is getting, oh my gosh, it's in the hundreds of millions just a year. Just a year.
Because Saudi Arabia, they're also making trickles into golf too, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. So they have a ton of money, and it's like oil money, right? It's like all over there. So they had the Live Golf, which now has since they created a divide with the PGA Tour, but now they've since joined forces with the PGA Tour and reached an agreement. But they're poaching all these players because they're offering them $600,000 a week to play for their clubs, and it's just there's no reason for these players not to go there if they've already won in their domestic leagues that they're in right now. Like Ronaldo's done everything there is to win. except for a World Cup. But if we're talking about on a club team, he's literally done everything. He has the most goals of all time. He is one of the best players, and he's played in every single top league there is. He's played in the English Premier League. He's played in the La Liga. He's played in the Serie A in Italy. And those are like the three. That's the three-headed monster. He's proven himself to be elite in all those, and then he gets offered like a ridiculous figure per week and per year. It's just crazy that this money really talks, and I mean, it's gonna start really affecting sports though, and it's kind of a weird development and one that can have some really negative ramifications if they just have this oil money that's gonna start affecting the skill distribution and the amount of players that you have in certain leagues like that. I mean, there's players. It was one thing when Ronaldo left, because Ronaldo's towards the end of his career. But you get guys like Edouard Mendy, who's a goalkeeper. You get other people like, I think, Hakeem Ziyech was going to go over there, and there's a whole bunch of other ones that are going now. But they're not even towards the back half of their career. They're like literally in the prime of their careers, and they're going over there. Milenkovic-Savic just went over there as well. And it's crazy to think that these guys are in their prime. This guy has no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was
going to
say, I have no idea
these guys
who
are
any
in,
of these people are.
Yeah. These guys are in their prime, and they're leaving to go to this league that literally was totally off the radar, off the map, that nobody even watches just a few years ago before Ronaldo went. And it's crazy because Messi could have gone as well, but he chose to go to Inter Miami in the MLS, which is even crazier because now he's essentially blazing the way for players to now come to the MLS, which is going to be crazy for us being in the States. We're going to be able to see some high-level games now starting to develop in the MLS.
And he joined the worst team in the league.
He did, but they also have a roster that's really underperforming right now, which is crazy because now you're going to add the greatest player of all time in Lionel Messi to that. And not only that, but now he's dragging players from Barcelona that he used to play with and are now joining him over there. Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba has gone as well. And you're going to see a couple of the players that are going to start joining him because literally just because Messi's there and they have a chance to play with him.
And not to mention, he's literally fresh off of winning a World Cup.
Oh, he was unbelievable in that tournament. He was unbelievable. It was just...
It was for Argentina, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just...
I want to go to Argentina.
It was wild to witness the run that he had with that team. And I would argue him and Mbappe were neck and neck for best player of the whole tournament. But to see Messi finally win the World Cup, because he just totally deserved to win it. He has done so much for Argentina.
Is that his first?
His first World Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
see, the thing with World Cups is they're so hard to win. They happen every 4 years.
Yeah.
And you think about how long like a soccer player plays for. I mean, Messi and Ronaldo are literal outliers. Nobody plays at the highest level like they have for that long. It's like unheard of.
Does Ronaldo have any World Cups?
He does not. He's won the Euros, so it's like the Winter Summer Olympics type of thing, but for soccer. So the World Cup is the biggest one.
Type of tournament.
Yeah, it's like the one that's like it still matters, but it's not the World Cup.
It's like the NBA in-season tournament.
It's like the world. They have the Olympics like for basketball, but then they also have the FIBA.
What is the FIBA?
Okay. Well,
what is the FIBA?
I see that example didn't land here, but so it's like the Olympics every 4 years. It's the same thing. It's every 4 years, but it's offset by 2 years. So like the World Cup or like the Olympics happens in 2012, and then the FIBA would be 2014.
Is it kind of like what they do with the Winter Olympics? How they offset it with the actual Olympics?
I'm not familiar with the schedule of the Olympics, but my point is like, let's say the World Cup is like 2014, right? Mm-hmm. Then the Euros will be 2016, and then the next World Cup's 2018, right?
Gotcha.
So every 2 years there's a major tournament, but it offsets.
Certain cadence for
how
they go about it.
Exactly. Okay. And so he has won the Euros with Portugal, talking about Ronaldo. He has won the Euros with them once. But again, it's not as... And the World Cup is what everyone wants to win. So the Euros is a big deal, don't get me wrong, but... To win the World Cup, it's like you're in folklore for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And you'll live on type of thing.
Okay.
So it's crazy. But again, going back to it, just what and that World Cup was the best World Cup final that I've seen in my whole life. And I think it's unanimously regarded as one of the best finals of all time. I woke up I think it was at like 6 a.m. here. I think it was like 6 a.m. when it happened here. And the ups and downs and the roller coaster of that game was just unbelievable. The quality of football that you saw on both sides was just crazy to watch, and it was two of the best players in their primes, absolutely performing at the top level, and they just went at it. And then they had to go to penalties, of course, in typical football fashion. And yes, I call it football because that's what it's
right
called.
Name. That's the right name. That's the deserving name.
And it was just unbelievable to watch that. And to see Messi win it in the end it was like the GOAT finally getting the coveted thing that's escaped him for the longest. He has literally every other trophy you can think of except for the World Cup. And he came through and did it, and it was just awesome to watch.
Yeah, man. You've seen it. You see, and you see it here first. As Fleet has given me an education, has educated me on the sport of football.
Yeah. I mean, we just went to, shout out to you, because we just went to the Earthquakes and LA Galaxy game at Stanford.
Yes.
You got some tickets from work, and that was
my first soccer
an
game I've ever
awesome
been
time,
to.
By the way, dude. Thank you, man.
That
was a great experience, though, because it was your first soccer game, if you will, since we call it soccer over here. But it was your first soccer game here.
Yeah.
And the environment of that is so much different than the other four major sports that we have in the States here.
It is.
Because the crowd is it's constant cheering. You know, you go to a football game, you go to a basketball game, you go to a baseball game. There's so many lulls throughout the game where it's not constant noise. There's runs in the game where the other team is driving on the football field and the crowd's going to be quiet, or maybe they're trying to just be loud for a third down or something. NBA, the other team's going on a run, your team is going cold. MLB is literally no noise in between pitches, basically, unless it's a big moment.
Yeah.
And, like, you just go to a soccer game, and it's an unreal atmosphere, even for an MLS game, because the crowd's going wild. There's smoke bombs, colored smoke bombs going off. There's people in the stands playing instruments and playing the drums.
Dog, like, the best view that I've gotten in this, because this is the first game I've gone to as a fan, but like I mentioned, I think, what was it, last summer, I worked a soccer event that was held at Oracle Park at the Giants Stadium. And
Real Madrid, correct?
Yes,
Played?
It was Real Madrid played Club America. And, look, I have never seen that stadium packed to the brim. I'm talking 40,000. I have never seen that stadium.
Hammered
that
drunk
packed.
fans.
Hammered. They go, look, they go hard, because it's different when you even for like MLS and soccer, because you represent a city like the San Jose Earthquakes. You represent San Jose or the Bay Area, whatever it may be. But when you're like Club America, Real Madrid, y'all representing a country. That is where you from. That's a country. That's a different type of responsibility.
And it's just an international game to the point where they have fans worldwide. Like, there was a lot of those fans that probably did travel from Madrid to come to the States, but I guarantee you a huge portion of those fans for Club America and for Real Madrid were people in the States that are actual fans of those teams still. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you look at Real Madrid, you look at Barcelona, Manchester United, Manchester City. Excuse me, all these different types of teams. They got two. Well, two in the Premier League.
Okay.
The thing about soccer is, especially internationally, is that there's tiers. So there's so many teams in each city, dude. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, but you talk about these teams that are just iconic, right? Like I said, Madrid, Barcelona, City, United, Chelsea, Arsenal. Shout out you, Joseph, Arsenal. I had to throw Arsenal in there for you. But these teams have fans worldwide. It's not just in that country. It's not just in that league. You could send those teams to play anywhere, and that stadium will be full because they have literal teams or fans worldwide. So it's just a different beast. And going back to what we were talking about, the atmosphere is just so much different because it feels like there's always something going on. Mm-hmm. There's always something going on in soccer. There's always passing. There's always movement. There's always a throw-in. There's always a free kick coming. There's always somebody spinning over on the ground 5 times because it looks like they just broke their leg. Like, there's always something going on in soccer. There's constant action, and I think that's part of the beauty of it.
That's probably my biggest gripe with soccer.
Or the flopping is ridiculous.
Absurd, dog. Like, look.
Yeah.
Like, you banged knees. Get up, bro.
Yeah.
You're rolling around like you tore something. Like you tore like your Achilles or something. Like, dude. And you're rolling around like just making these grimacing faces. Like, dog. I get selling it, but it's just like now it's getting to a point to where it's like I'm starting to question your manhood. Like, get up off the ground. Like, I'm really starting to question like your masculinity. At that
and the thing with soccer, it's just too far gone now because they didn't do anything to reprimand it or to punish doing that, and it's too far gone now.
Yeah.
Like, they can't implement any sort of thing like the NBA is doing now this year where they're going to give a technical for flopping. There's no way. I mean, there is a thing what they call simulation, which is if you act like you got fouled but you really didn't, you can receive a yellow card or a red card if you've already received a yellow card and it's your second one. You can get punished for that. But there's, like you said, you could get fouled, but all of a sudden you act like, you know, your life's about to end, right? You're about to, you're having a heart attack on the field, basically.
You're out here acting like you DeMar
and
Hamlin.
there's just no way for them to punish that. There's no real way to regulate it, and I think it's just gone to a point where it's too far gone, and it's just a part of the game now. Like, it used to bug me too, but now I just watch it so religiously. It's like, get up, they'll be fine.
Yeah,
they'll be fine. But the part that gets annoying is that when somebody is really hurt, you don't know until they're actually really hurt and they've stayed down, because then you got the medical team coming out and then they brought the stretcher, or they're doing something and they're really taping everything up and you're like, oh, okay, this person's actually really hurt. But that's part of the consequences of having all this flopping and all this exaggeration of contact, where when people are really hurt, everybody's not even really paying attention because it's like, he just got fouled. He's going to get up in about 2 minutes. He'll start sprinting again after acting like he can't even walk, right? But then you get these guys who actually tear an ACL or fracture a leg or fracture an ankle, and you're like, oh, they're fine. You see the replay and you're like, oh, damn, yeah, though they're really hurt. And then they stay down for 5 minutes, get stretchered off, and you're like, well, I feel like I didn't really have the right reaction to that because everyone's always acting like they fractured their ankle.
And it's like we're so desensitized to that now.
Right,
too.
exactly.
Like,
that's the point it's gotten to.
Yeah.
You're just desensitized to all the contact and the way that they sell the contact, where it's like, if they're really hurt, you're like, they're fine. And then it's like, oh, they're not.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like when Tua hit the ground, you know, you're just like, oh, look at him. He's just playing around throwing up gang signs. Like, oh, no, his fingers are stuck like that.
Bro,
like, they're stuck.
Tua is like 2 concussions away from just not playing anymore.
Just being, bro, I say he's like 2 concussions away from being a Ryan Shazier. That's a name that we don't speak about. I mean, obviously for obvious reasons. Like, but that was a scary. He was a.
Football is a very scary sport, man.
It's a look,
very
and
scary.
don't get me wrong. I enjoyed my time playing football, but like, I love football. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I got out when I did, because like, it's crazy because like it got to a point where like my body was literally giving up on me. Like as much as I wanted to play the game, like my heart and soul was in it, but it's like my body literally just could not keep up. Like, for example, like, so I played roughly a year of JUCO ball, right? I redshirted 1 year and then I played a season. But that first season I played, right? I get a concussion the week going into our first game. I'm out for 2 games, play 3 games. And then when I come back from bye week, I pop my knee. And it's not like I tore a ligament or anything. I fractured my tibia. So it's like where your shin bones meet in your knee joint, like the top of it right here, it cracked or it fractured on the inside of my knee. So like I was on crutches for 6 weeks. And so that was me for the rest of the season. And like at that point, I'm like, dog, this is the first time I've been injured and like I can't walk, which sucked. But best believe I've been in situations where I've separated a shoulder. I've separated a shoulder and played an entire season with it. I've had fractured fingers and I've played with it. And it's like, that's cool. It's extremities. Like I can still do my daily activities. But when I can't walk, dog, I'm like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing with football is from the start of like training camp, so to say, preseason, you're never healthy ever again. Like that's the healthiest you're ever going to be, is right at the start. And then every week after that, there's always going to be something that either is re-aggravated or something that pops up that's new. And you're never, ever 100% again after the first week, basically.
Yeah. Even when you tear a muscle, like if you pull a hamstring, like for
a hamstring will linger.
Yeah.
That's one of the worst injuries you can have in football.
Yeah. And like for further context too, like from my like medical history, I guess, it's so funny when I tell people this too. This happened like my senior year of high school. It was like after the season, and I was like I was, you know, getting into the gym, getting ready for like when I was gonna play football in college. But I basically, when I was deadlifting, in very blatant terms, I strained my ass. Like I strained my glute muscle.
This boy busted his ass.
I busted my ass. But like I really strained my ass. But it was my glute muscle that was up towards my lower lumbar region that connected from your glutes to your lower back. And from that point, I had to do physical therapy for it. I had to go do multiple sessions and really, really work to get it back to where it was. But even when I started playing ball again, I noticed when I pushed off of my left foot, when I was getting out of certain drops, like I couldn't push off with the same
force. So there's a little tinge type of feel to it.
Yeah, like you can get it, like when you tear a muscle, you can get it close, if not, you can get it close, if not almost right where it was, but it's never going to be the same again. Like, the muscle's never going to perform the same again because it went through that type of damage. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's crazy.
By the way, I think the camera's dead now, so we're just doing voices now.
Oh, yeah.
So if we're
we
gonna
have been
just
talking for a minute.
Yeah, we'll keep going, but we'll just be mindful that you guys can't see us anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, it's crazy though, because you talk about like the glute area and how it connects to the back. Back injuries is nothing will humble you quite like a back injury will. When you have to get up in the morning after you've strained, twisted, done anything to your back, or like you said, that glute area, you feel immobile. You literally feel like I can't move. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do to get myself up. I just have to you just have to roll off the bed.
Yep.
Like you're like a fish. You're just kind of like flopping out of water with in your back. You don't realize how much is connected to like the strength of just getting up and moving. Quite like when you pull your back, man. Yeah. It is a humbling experience.
Very much is. Yeah. It's dog.
Yeah.
Because like your back is like such an important, I mean, it's the centerpiece of your entire body. It literally keeps your whole thing. I keep thinking to look towards the camera, but you literally just said it's dead.
Yeah.
So at that point, but no, like your back is such a fundamental part of like your everyday life and living, and not just physical activity, but just how you maneuver the world and everything. So it's just like, it's just, when it's impaired or when it's hurting, it's like, it sucks. It's really bad.
Yeah. Big time. Yeah. Well, we covered a lot. We'll have to pick this up on the next one. Yeah. But covered a lot of good stuff. Appreciate you, Fancy.
Yeah, appreciate
for Fleet.
You, Fleet.
We're going to have to, we'll run this back soon. You guys stay tuned. Another episode of Backyard Dynasty. Hopefully the next one has Fleet, Fancy, and Scanny, the full trio. But
indeed. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for more. If you guys... We'll be looking at the comments. Like, comment, subscribe.
Yes, comment, subscribe. Follow us all on our socials. Follow your boy at _willpower with 3 R's. Follow.
We'll put it down in the description instead of spelling out our stuff for you. But for Fleet, for Fancy, we're out of here. We'll see you on the next one.
Alrighty. Yay.